the numbers of our business. And we're going to go through a lot of numbers, okay? But all the numbers have a purpose, okay? And so let's go ahead and get started. If you don't know your numbers, you're going out of business. Who said that? Robert Herjavec said that, the guy from the Shark Tank. He told an entrepreneur, if you don't know the numbers in your business, you're going out of business. And the fact is, most of you don't treat this like a business, you treat it like a thing. Yep. And it pays you like a thing. Yep. Okay, you treat it like a hobby, it pays you like a hobby. You got to treat this like a business. You got to know the numbers, and you got to know your numbers. And if you put the numbers and your numbers together, okay, you have the opportunity to do something really special. Okay, but you cannot win here if you don't know your numbers. So it's a three-step process. Number one is you got to know the numbers. Number two is you got to accept the numbers. And number three is you got to work the numbers. That is how you're going to take the information tonight that I'm giving you and make something out of it. Know the numbers, accept the numbers, work the numbers. See, I teach you the numbers, but a lot of you don't accept the numbers. How do I know that? Because you're not working the numbers. See, if you accept the numbers as true, it gives you the power you need to run the numbers. But the truth is, most people in Primerica, they think, I don't really have to do all of what they're talking about. I'm still going to win. Yep. Folks, no, you're not. You're not going to win. You can't beat the numbers, and the numbers cannot beat you. You can't beat them. You're not good enough to beat the numbers, folks. Okay? And the numbers cannot beat you. You're not bad enough to be beat by the numbers. Okay? And you got to sell out to that philosophy. If you sell out to the philosophy that if I accept the numbers and work the numbers, I'm going to win. And if I don't, I won't. Period. Period. Okay? So, Primerica is publicly traded, right? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, so there's about a half dozen companies that have these people called analysts. And the analysts are looking at all the numbers related to our stock. And their job, listen to this, the analyst's job is to look at all of what's going on in the company, all of what's going on in the economy, all of what's going on in the industry, interest rates in China, this thing over here, that thing over here. Look at possible lawsuits, this could happen over here, and figure out how much money they think Primerica is going to take in, what they think we're going to spend, how much is left, and divide it by 75 million shares, and then tell their firm what they think we're going to make. There are people, that's their job. They're called stock analysts. And they put out a guess, right? Or a forecast. They think, all right, in quarter three, Primerica's earnings per share are going to be X amount. Well, earnings per share is all the money in, all the money out, divided by all the outstanding shares. That's what it is. And it's pennies. It's 80 cents, 90 cents, whatever it is per share. And folks, these analysts generally are within 1 to 3 cents a share. Stop and think about that for a second. Forward looking, not what happened, what they think is going to happen. They can whittle it down to 3 pennies. 3 pennies. But you have no idea what you're going to make next month. How could that be? See, the company, Primerica, the company, is like a giant upline to all of us. You understand that? The company's overriding all of us. Okay? So if the company can know their numbers that accurately, we should be able to know our numbers that accurately. If they can forecast their business that accurately, we should be able to forecast our business that accurately. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? Why is this important? Because if you're a business person, you got to know the numbers. You should be able to know exactly how much you're going to make. And the truth is, a lot of you don't. It's a total surprise. Some of you have no idea which I know pretty much exactly how much I'm going to make this month. Why? Because I know the numbers. See, some of you are afraid to go full time because you're not sure if you can make enough money. Why? Because you don't know the numbers. If you knew the numbers, accepted the numbers, and worked the numbers, you know exactly what you're going to make. Do you understand that? Yep. Okay, and if you don't, you won't. And so you'll operate out of fear, scarcity, instead of operating out of certainty that this is how it works. Okay? So I'm going to teach you tonight the numbers that you've got to know and how they apply to you. And your job is to what? know the numbers, accept the numbers, and work the numbers. Okay? So, that's what I just told you. This is one of the most prevalent numbers you're ever going to hear. If you get on a Primerica earnings conference call, when the company discusses the earnings per share, this is a favorite statistic. It has not changed since Art Williams ran the company. And that is this: 15.5 to 16% of the licensed sales force will make a life sale in a given month. If they make a sale, they'll make 2.2 sales.
Wow.
Let me say that again. The company knows that 15.5 to 16% of its sales force is going to make a sale in a given month. If they do anything, they average 2.2 sales. Okay? So I could talk to you for an hour on what this means and all the different information you can ascertain out of this. Denise says, wow, that's all? So let's figure out some of the numbers, right? Okay, there's 113,000 licensed representatives. Only 15.5% of them will write a sale this month. Why? Most of them are part-time, spare time. This is not their what? Job.
Yep.
This is not their job. This is something they did, right? So when you have some jackal be like, nobody makes any money in Primerica, you're exactly right. Why? Because nobody made any sales in Primerica. Most of them, right? So if you don't do any work, how much money should you get? Okay, right. So we're all in agreement on that, right? Okay. If you don't do any work and you make 0 sales, you should get no money, right? Okay. So there's a lot of numbers that you can ascertain out of here. But here's the biggest myth. If I just train my people more, then they're going to do better. Folks, that's just false. That's just false. Okay? This is the company average. In small numbers, you might beat that average if you're really engaged. In fact, our organization does beat this average substantially. But it won't be that way forever. When we got 10,000 people, this will be the number. Why? Because they're so far away from the power source that the law of large numbers begins to take over. This is our business and everybody else's business, and every piece of business since 1977, this is how it works. Y'all understand that? Okay, so on our earnings disclosure, it says, last year Primerica paid $692 million in cash to its sales force, and the average rep made $6,300. And sometimes the really smart critics be like, oh, the average guy is making $6,000. The average guy should be lucky that he's making $6,000. According to this, he does nothing. He does nothing. Okay? So the second thing that you can ascertain out of this is there's a divide. There's a divide. If you're active, you're not just doing one, generally. You're doing more than one. Do you see that? Right? If you wrote anything, you're generally writing a few. Okay? So I'm going to get to some more stuff on that. So let's talk about the numbers. In Primerica, there are 3,300 $100,000 earners. There are now, as of last week, $77 million earners. Okay? But watch this number. Okay? Watch this number. Because this ought to give you so much confidence, it's undadgum believable. Okay? So here's the deal. We have 113,000 licensed reps right now. 15.5 of them are going to write a sale this month. 15.5%. Which is how many writing reps? 17,500. Folks, look at this. If you write a sale this month, if you wrote one, statistically you got an 18% chance of making $100,000 a year in Primerica. So I've been looking at that number. 3,300 of them 17,000 people are making $100,000 a year or more. Why don't more people in Primerica make money? They do. Why don't more people in Primerica ever make a dadgum sale? Right? Because they're often la-la land. Right? They're chasing unicorns and Pokemon and fantasy football. Ouch, some of you getting a little hurt by that. Right? Folks, let me tell you something. If you're spending time on fantasy anything, your priorities are out of whack. Yep. I got millions. I ain't playing fantasy anything. Okay? You understand what I'm saying to you? So look at that. 18. If you write a sale, if you muster up one, dadgum sale. In a month, you got an 18% chance of ending up making $100,000 a year in Primerica.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
That's great.
Now look, so I got to thinking, what percentage of America makes $100,000 a year? According to the Census Bureau, 6.03%. 6.03% of all humans that file taxes in the United States make $100,000 a year. That's an individual person, which, by the way, are 3,300. That's individual people. That's not a husband, wife on two separate codes. That's an individual person, okay? So, look at that. If you work full-time at a job, or self-employed, or business owner, if you file taxes in the United States, you got a 6% chance of making $100,000. If you write a sale a month in Primerica, you got an 18% chance of making $100,000. You have 3 times the opportunity here to make $100,000 a year than you do as a normal person, and this is not a full-time 40-hour-a-week job like 90% of them suckers. Okay? So you got to understand the numbers of our business. This is the greatest opportunity in American business by a dadgum mile if you what? Work. If you work the numbers. Okay? So next time somebody talks about how people in Primerica don't make no money, you should look at that. So you're exactly right. The 85% of them that don't write a sale don't make any money, nor should they. And the ones that do make a crap ton of money on average. Okay? There's a large divide between the doers and the do-nothings, right? Okay? So codes. Let's talk about codes. What's a code? A licensed agent. A licensed agent. So the company knows, we just talked about codes there, right? 15.5% of the codes, the licensed agents, make a sale in a month, and if they make 1 sale, they make 2.2 sales. Okay? So you got to be totally focused on growing your codes. Okay? The more codes you have, the more premium you're going to have. You need to be thinking in terms of distribution. So let's take the numbers. If you have 10 codes and 15% of them make a sale, how many people are making a sale? 1.5. And how many sales did they make? 2. So they made 3 sales. Right? So you got 10 licensed people, you pretty much count on 3 sales a month no matter what. You say that should be more. It might be more if you're personally active, if you found a couple of good people, but over time, that's what the numbers are going to be. So if you want to be making 30 sales a month, how many codes you got to have? About 100. About 100. Okay? So if you look at the base shops in our hierarchy doing 30,000 or more, most of them, right? Cooper's base shop has about 100 codes. Emmanuel Earl's base shop has about 100 codes. Dwyer's has less than that, okay? But they're up there, okay? So let me make a statement to you. All codes are not created equal. All codes are not created equal. What do I mean by that? How many of you ever got a guy licensed, he never wrote a sale? He's one of the 85, right? Okay? So new codes are far more productive than old codes. Let me say it again. New codes are far more productive than old codes. Folks, we're going to have annual compliance meeting here in October. The one time a year, the agents will come out of the woodwork. The unicorns will reappear. The shapeshifters will take the shape of a human being in the flesh, and they will come to the office. And you won't be able to park for miles around here. And they will come to watch our compliance video to keep their license, and then we won't see them again till when? Next year. Old codes. Old codes have no hope. The hope of Primerica is drained out of the people that have been here for very long periods of time and haven't built something. But new codes have excitement with them. Okay, so you got to be totally focused on coding people. Okay? You got to be totally focused on coding people, which comes from where? Where do codes come from? Recruits. We're going to get to that in a second. Okay? But listen, you want to have a rock solid business, you want to be able to count on, let's say you wanted $60,000 a month in premium. That's 60 sales a month. How many codes you need? About 200. Okay, so you got 200 codes. That thing's going to do 60,000. Might do more, but it ain't going to do any less. Right? Well, that's going to pay you $200,000-300,000 a year in Primerica. You want to make $200,000-300,000 a year, and overrides never have to work. How do you get there? 200 codes. You understand that? 200 codes. So let's talk about recruiting numbers. Okay? 2 numbers you need to understand. The first is 10, double-digit recruiting. See, there's 2 sorts of premium coming from recruiting. There's training premium, and then there's coded premium. Do you understand the difference? Mm-hmm. Training premium is Jeremy gets a new guy, he gets Steve. Steve goes out in the field, lets him write to get to district leader. That's training premium. It's coming through Jeremy's code, right? Okay, but it's new, it's brand new. And then there's coded premium. Jai goes out to a networking event, finds a client, writes a sale. 2 different sorts, right? Do you understand that? Okay, so the first number you got to understand in recruiting is 10. If you're not doing 10 a month, it's unlikely you're ever going to build anything of substance, because you're not going to have people to train. You recruit 3, it's highly likely all 3 are going to be gone. You recruit 10, it's impossible to recruit 10 a month on a consistent basis and not to build something, okay? Not to build something in that thing, right? But a percentage of the recruits are going to get licensed. Why do you need to know this? Well, if you need 200 codes, the next question would be, how many recruits do I need to get 200 codes? Right? You understand? Okay, so the company number is 16% of the recruits will get a license. 16%, we're a little bit better than that. We're about 20%. The best people in the company are 25%. Okay? Why is that? How could that be? Folks, that's human beings. Okay? That is human nature in numeric form in front of your face, right? 100 people join, they all want to become wealthy. 3/4 of them die out before they actually finish step 1, which is get the license, right? Okay, why? Because that's what people do. Everybody wants to be rich until they got to do something other than what they're doing now to get it, right? Okay, so can you change that? No. If you bring your guy goodie bags at class and babysit him and tap him on the butt every break, you're doing so good, new recruit, you're going to be incredible, and you go up there and you cheerlead him in class, is that going to change? No. In fact, I think it's backwards. If you got to be babysitting your guy to get a license, that's the wrong guy. Come on, new recruit, get financially independent, pay off your debt. Right, okay? That's not how you do it. You say, you go to class, it's going to suck, but you're going to test, and then you never need to do it again. Call me after you're done with your first day. Right, okay? So a percentage of recruits is going to get licensed, okay? And a percentage of the licenses are going to stay what? Active. Remember, old codes are different than new codes. Okay? So if, let's say your coding ratio is 20%. So out of 100 recruits, how many licenses are you going to get? 20. So to have 200 license, how many recruits you got to have? 1,000. But you don't got to do it. You can recruit too. And they recruit, and those people recruit. It doesn't matter where the codes are. You understand that? It doesn't matter whether you got them or somebody else got them. You can use the law of leverage and large numbers to filter through and get the 20% that are going to get coded. Okay? Let me give you all a real quick best practice, because we could change our business real fast if we can take that coding percentage up a little bit to 25. Yes or yes? Yeah. Because that 5%, that ain't 5%. That's 25% more than we're doing now. Yeah. Do you understand that? It means 25% more codes, which means 25% more people writing, which means 25% more apps. Okay? So let me give you guys a quick nugget. On the IBA, they should be registered for class. Folks, what do you do in recruiting people who aren't going to go to class? That doesn't make any sense. Okay? Folks, they should never go online. Never go online. They need to go to the class. Okay? I can count on my left hand the amount of recruits I've ever met that took it online and finished. Why? Because they're just, it's an extreme discipline. They're just, most of them aren't going to do it, right? If you want to talk ratios, the company has ratios. 3% will get licensed if they go online versus 16%. Should you ever put them online? No. You should put them in class. Even if it's inconvenient? Yes. Even if they have to reschedule work? Yes. Even if they have to get a babysitter? Yes. Yes. You put them where? In class. After 2 years, your 100 codes, 83 are inactive. Which means they haven't wrote a sale, in 6 months, which goes back to the kind of the 15%, right? 15 are consistent part-time producers, 2 are RVPs. Okay? That's how it works. Why don't more people win? I don't know. Why do 80% of them not get a license? Right? It just is what it is.
Numbers.
Okay? So watch this, right? If they're inactive, some of them ain't going to come to compliance meeting. And then what happens to their code? Goes away. So you don't just get 200 codes once and then you're there forever. The 200 codes you got this year, 3-4 years from now, you got half of them suckers, maybe, that are still active, right? But don't fear. Why? Because you still have recruiting happening. You understand? Okay. So here's the ratios that we gotta talk about. So here's what's called a recruit to life sale ratio. Okay. So this is year to date. In our organization, we've recruited 1,647 and a half people. Okay.
Get the half.
The half is a network. Somebody that's half in our organization or somewhere else that it counts to half. Okay. So see, year to date, we're actually up 41%. All last year, we recruited 1,600 for the entire calendar year of 2015. This year, year to date, we recruited 1,647. So we're up 41%, right? Okay. But take a look at what happens to the case count, okay? So this is the number of life sales we've made. So 2015, we made 2,400 life sales as an organization. So far, year to date, we made 2,712 life sales, which is up quite a bit, okay? Why? Because recruiting creates more codes, which creates a higher percentage of people writing, which creates more sales, right? Do you understand that? But here's another way to look at it. What I always looked at, so the licensing coding part is cool, but there's a lot of steps in there. So a shortcut was this, right? I learned how to look at my recruit to sale ratio, okay? So if you take those two numbers and you divide them out, for every recruit that comes in the door in our organization, they bring with them 1.64 life sales. So if you recruit 10 people a month, how many life sales should you be writing? 16.4.
Yeah.
Now some of them are going to write none, and some of them are going to write 7. Right? Okay? But the law of averages is that. So again, maybe better than even looking at licensing, which is kind of an intermediary step. If we just look at the front end, we can figure out what we need to be doing, right? So if you want to do 50 apps a month, how many recruits do you need to be having? 30 a month. You do 30 recruits a month in this organization, statistically you're going to write 50 apps a month. You write 50 apps a month, that's a $20,000 a month income. How do you make $20,000 a month in Primerica? Recruit 30. Recruit 30 a month. The numbers are the numbers. Folks, this is you. These are our numbers. Now, folks, and I didn't show this, but these are darn near company high. Most people have a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, 1 sale to every recruit. There are organizations that have decimal ratios. They do 0.6 sales to every recruit. So what changes this factor? How well what? Trained the actual people that stick around are. Okay, so you guys are some of the best trained in the company, and that shows in the ratio. We get more production out of fewer recruits than virtually anybody else in the company. That's good and bad. It's good because we know what we're doing with the recruits. It's bad because you don't need to recruit as much to get to your goal, right? Do you understand? Which is bad because the more you recruit, that would just get bigger. Do you understand those numbers? So you want to do 100 apps a month, you need to be doing 60 recruits in your base or in your hierarchy, whatever it is, right? So if you learn the numbers, now you know what you can focus on. But folks, you're not going to get where you need to go recruiting to, because the stats say you're going to make how many sales?
2.2.
3.5? Or maybe you wrote a bunch, 5, 6, but you ain't going to do 30. That's not going to happen, okay? So some of you have heard me talk about the 20-60-20 number. This is when it comes to closing, okay? Which influences that other number. 20% of the people you talk to are just going to say yes. If you're in market, married, kids, home, job. 20% are just going to say yes. 20% are just going to say no. It doesn't matter what you show them. It doesn't matter how much better it is. None of it matters. They're just not going to move forward. Okay? By the way, that kills a lot of people in Primerica. They just don't understand it. They become hopeless, right? Okay? You got to understand, 20% are just going to say no. There's nothing you can do about it. 60% in the middle could go either way, yes or no. Which, by the way, if you don't ask them, they're going to go which way? No. They're not going to go no. They're going to go, I want to think about it. Which, by the way, means no. Any of you figure that out yet? How many of you have been back to somebody who wanted to think about it? They called you back, said, I thought about it. I'd like to come and have you sell me this now. Anybody? It might have happened once or twice. Okay, a few of you. A few of you. Has it happened more than 5 times? Okay. Right, so maybe. Okay, yeah. Literally once. And you're like, you look at the phone and you're like, it is a day of favor.
Yes, thank you, Jesus.
Okay? But that's not going to happen, right? So fortunes, look at me. If you're running the numbers, you can survive off the 20%. If you're running the numbers, okay? Fortunes are made on converting that middle 60 mostly to yes. Which comes from what? Getting great at closing, okay? By getting great at your skills. 5, to stay alive. This is another number of our business. If you ever want to be full-time, you got to have 5 renewable sources of people. I talked to our full-timers about this morning. Okay, write this down. 99% of the problems you're going to have in Primerica originate as list problems. You didn't make a big enough list. You say, oh, I'm going to have people to talk to. If you come tell me that and you've been here for a year, right, I just want to slap you in the face. I'm not going to, but that's how I feel. Because there's no way you've been walking around this planet for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, some of you, and you know 30 people. That's just not not a mathematical possibility that you've met 30 people in your existence on the planet Earth. Right? Okay? You don't live on a compound somewhere. All right? That's not happening. So you might know 30 people you feel comfortable with, right? But you know a few thousand people. The average person knows 800 people. Okay? So you know a few thousand people. You just feel uncomfortable talking to them. What are they going to think about me? Who cares? Right? Who cares? You should be concerned about what your family's going to think about you, going and making something big happen, and not what people who you haven't talked to in 5 years are going to think about you. Okay? But some of you so petrified by them, you just freeze. You're done. So you have a list problem. You don't make a big enough list. So your list got to be at least 1,000 people long. 1,000? That sounds like that 4-letter word. Work. You mean I actually have to get? I don't have their numbers. I'm like, get them, genius. You mean I actually have to get the numbers? Yes. Yes, you do. You want to be paid millions for not calling people or getting numbers? How? Please explain to me how you thought we were going to pay you millions to call 30 people. How is that going to work? Tell me in your scheme how you thought that worked. And you were probably one like, this ain't one of them pyramids, is it? But really, that's what you were hoping it was. You were hoping you'd talk to 3 people and you'd be an instant millionaire. Okay? Folks, you got to make a big, huge list. And you got to keep that list replenished. How do you do that? By having 5 renewable sources of people every week that you talk to. Write this number down, 30 to 50. 30 to 50 new names and numbers a week that you met face to face. Folks, this is so simple. I don't recommend doing it cold market, but if you went into the gas station, the restaurant, everywhere that you went on a daily basis, you ask the person working there, hey, do you plan on doing this forever? You keeping your options open. Most of them will give you their number. Folks, if you do that 5 times a day, that's 35 a week. That's 140 a month. That's 1,800 a year. How are you going to talk to 1,800 people and 2 or 3 don't come and do this part-time with you? Out of 1,800 people. See, you got to know the numbers accept the numbers, and work the numbers. How many of you been on 1,800 appointments? Raise your hand. Okay, right, keep them raised. Okay, 1,800 appointments. Y'all don't know nothing about nothing yet because you are not working the numbers. I estimate I've been on 6,000 to 7,000 appointments in my career in 10 years. Right? 600, that's 2 a day I went on, right? Probably. Somewhere in that vicinity. And look what happened to me, right? Look what happened to me. Okay, how many of you, raise your hand, did I know before I joined Primerica? Look at all the hands. I worked the numbers, and the numbers brought you to me. And the numbers will bring them to you also. Folks, you understand it could have been anybody. If you would have talked to the people I talked to, Marie, okay, and you would have, all these people be yours. Because I didn't know them. I met them through the process. Do you understand that? 0 people in this room, even in the hallway, there were 0 of them that I knew before being in the business. So if I didn't know you, then I must have what? Met you, or met somebody that knew you, or met somebody that met somebody that knew you, or met somebody that met somebody that met somebody that knew you. But I had to meet somebody to get to you. You're like, I don't got no people. Find them then. They're everywhere. Did you notice when you look out the window, there are other people that have also left their home, and they're out in this place called the world, okay, and they're doing things like eating or driving a car or going to work. Some of you are like, I don't got no people. There are 8,000 people at your company that hate their job just like you. You're like, I don't got no people. I don't know who to talk to. Look around. They're everywhere. Do you understand that? But you ain't going to get wealthy here without knowing the numbers, accepting the numbers, and then working the numbers. Folks, you got to open your mouth and talk to some folks. Until when? Until you're free. How long do I need to do it? Till you're done.
As long as it takes.
Right? Till you're done. That's how long. So you got to have 5 renewable sources of people, right, that yield you how many? 30 to 50 names a week. At 50 names a week, that's 200 a month. That's 2,400 a year. That's 24,000 in a decade. Folks, hopefully all of you make it the next 10 years. Okay? If you live the next 10 years, will 10 years have passed?
Yes.
Yes.
You're sure?
Yes.
Okay. So 10 years is going to go by one way or the other. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You'll have either talked to a bunch of people or you will not have. And you'll either have this or a whole lot bigger than this, or you'll have what you have now. Okay? That's how life is. That's how life works. How would you talk to 24,000 people and not find a few people that are good at this? And you're forgetting about all the people they talk to. Raise your hand if I direct recruited you. You were my personal relationship. I didn't recruit you for somebody. You were mine. I did the appointment. I found you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 70. 10%. Not even. So if you talk to 24,000 people in 10 years, imagine how many multipliers of that those people are going to talk to in 10 years. Do you understand how this builds? Do you get this?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Docs, if you're full-time, oh, I went too far. If you're full-time, I'm a maniac about you being on what, Chris McDonald? And having the docs done every day. And the docs are a reverse into this number, which is famous, that Art Williams talked about all the time. 8-5-3-1. 8 kitchen tables, 5 F&As, 3 life closes, 1 personal recruit. He said, if you do this, you'll make $100,000 a year in Primerica. And folks, that's totally true. But in order for the numbers to work, you actually have to be on how many appointments for the week? 8. Some of you got 8 scheduled. You're like, I'm going to be a quadrillionaire. But then you forget that people don't do what they say and don't respect your time, right? Okay? So you have 8 and you get on 3, and all of a sudden the number don't work quite right. Yes or yes? Yeah. So the docs we made to get on 20. Okay? So you have numbers. Most of you don't know them. You're clueless. You don't track them. You have no idea. That's why you're not succeeding at the way that you should be. Okay? So you have something called a complete ratio, which is if you set 10 appointments but you go on 4, what is your completion ratio?
44%.
You get on 40% of what you set. You understand that? So all of you have one of these, very few of you know them. How many of you know your complete ratio? Raise your hand. What is it?
It's like, it was 18.
Okay, so that's terrible,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
it's
good.
got
So
that.
41.
41, that's better.
33.
That's low.
45.
That's okay.
It's 33.
33, that's low.
53.
So you're high.
About 48.
Okay, so that's good. We track the full-timers, and acceptable full-timers is how much? 40. If you're getting on 40, that's acceptable, your numbers will work. If you're below 40, you're gonna have a hard time. You just gotta set so much to even get in front of it, right? Okay? So watch this, if you need to be on 8, and you get on 40%, how many do you actually have to set? 20. If you set 20 and you get on 40% of it, that gets you on 8, and the math problem that Art Williams talked about of 8531 begins to work for you. But if you don't get on the 8, the rest of it don't work. You understand that? Okay? And then we've got close ratios, which if you get on 10 and you close 4 is what percent? 40. Right? An acceptable close ratio is what, full-timers? 40. Now, how many of you know your close ratio? Raise your hand. What is it? Okay, so you're high. If he's in front of it, he's going to close it. What are you? 55. So you're high. You're 80. So you're really high. What's yours?
72.
Okay, so if you're on it, you're going to close it a lot of the time.
43.
43. So Aristides actually, he's too nice. Everybody likes him, so he shows up, but then they don't buy as much, right? Okay? Versus Jackman, and apparently nobody likes Jackman. but if he gets in front of you, you're gonna buy something. I'm just teasing you, man. I like you, right? I'm like Dr. Philip up here, right? Right? So watch this. How many did you set? What's your complete ratio? What's your close ratio? You should be able to know this week exactly how many sales you're going to make, exactly how many recruits you're going to get. It's not a guessing game, it's a business. But some of you running it like a guessing game because you don't even know how many you have set for the next 7 days. You don't know. You're like, I gotta count them. I got 1, 2, 3. I got 3. Right? Okay. No, you gotta know your numbers. How many do you have set? How many statistically do you get on? How many do you close? And that will show you exactly what's going to happen to you. Small range, and then it will start compounding. Then the bigger numbers can take over. You understand that? Should be no surprises. You should be able to run your business like our company runs their business. No surprises, no guesswork. You should be able to reverse engineer this. If you make $500 a sale, hypothetically, and you want to make $5,000 and not have any overrides, how many sales you got to make? 10. So if you close half, how many you got to be in front of? 20. If you get on half, how many you got to have set? 40. If you got to have 40 set and there's 30 days in a month, how many do you need to set every day? 1.3. Let's call it 2 a day, 5 days a week. Problem solved. You set 2 a day, 5 days a week. You manage your numbers. What's going to happen?
5K.
Folks, do you understand that if your complete rate is the complete rate and your close rate is the close rate, which they are, they're nothing else, and you put X amount in, you're going to get Y amount out the back end. Do you understand that? It's not possible for you to book 40 appointments, run your complete and close rate, and not end up with some sort of similar number to what you should. So write this down. My results are exactly what they should be. Ouch.
We have to have the ouch.
My results are exactly what they should be. Why? Because your math problem created them.
Nice.
So now you have everything you need. Right? Know your numbers and make changes accordingly. If you're not good at closing, change. Get better. It's a skill. You can learn it if you want to. If you're not good at completing it, change. Post-close. Get in a better market. Read about appointment setting. Listen to the audios. Drill for skill. You can improve. Do you understand that? You're not a rock. You can get better by effort. Okay? If you get better by effort and your numbers get better, what happens to your results?
It gets better.
That doesn't get worse. Right? Okay? So this stuff, when I learned this, it was so freeing to me. Because I know all I got to do is get better. All I got to do is keep showing up, set more than I did before, get better than I am at these two things, and my numbers will get better. End of story. No guesswork. No, does God really want me here? Because I'm getting these chargebacks. I saw in the Bible in 1 Timothy that if I got a chargeback, okay, right? Thou shalt not get charged back at this. So you got, I'm being facetious. You understand what I'm saying here, right? Okay? Right? But that's how some of you are. Some of you, you're depressed right now. You shouldn't be. You should be real. Why are you depressed? Because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You're not very good. So get better. Try harder. Get better, right? Okay, that's what I teach my kids. You're not good at something, guess what? You should do more. Try harder, right? Don't cry about it. Just try harder. Okay? Attendance. Company-wide, you're going to have a 1-to-1 ratio. For every human being that comes to a meeting on your team, you're going to make that many override sales a month. Sales you're not involved in. So you got 3 people coming. How many sales are you going to make a month?
3.
Statistically, right? Now, at small numbers, it can vary widely because you have a lot of influence over it, right? Okay? But you got 100 people coming, how many sales are you going to be making?
100.
About 100. So I think that's even easier to control than recruiting. Right? Remember I told you you get 1.64 sales to every recruit?
Mm-hmm.
But an even easier one for me is I get 1 sale for every human that shows up. So you don't even need to recruit them to get them to show up. And some of the people you already recruited show up. Okay? But if you don't got people coming, you're not going to be making sales. That's just how it works. Why does it work that way? I don't know. I could not tell you why this works as such, but it does. It does work in this way, right? Okay? So you've got to understand this, and if you do, remember, you got to know the number. Step 2 is accept the number. Step 3 is work the number. If you miss meetings, you're missing step 2. You have not accepted the number that I get 1-to-1 because you're not even showing up. So how many sales are you going to make if you ain't showing up? Okay, right? So how are you going to get other people to show up if you ain't showing up? Well, I have this going on. Well, your people are going to have stuff going on too, right? Okay, sometimes we need to sacrifice little bits to get large rewards in the end, okay? So we got a October Builder School coming up. Some of you don't have your tickets. You have not accepted the numbers. You just haven't. You're telling me, I don't believe what you're telling me here. I think I can beat this. And you know what I'm going to tell you? You're never going to leave your job, or if you're a full-timer, you will have a job. Why? Because that's what's supposed to happen. Why? Because you're not accepting and then running the numbers. You think you're better than them, or you don't have to abide by them, and that's just not true. But if you understand them, right? You accept them and you run them, they can't beat you. You're not bad enough to screw it up. Okay? So here's the deal. This is the end of the story. More activity equals more recruits. More recruits equals more people coming to meetings. More people coming to meetings equals more people getting licensed and more apps happening, which equals what? More income. This is a very basic formula. Yes or yes?
Yes.
I went through a whole lot of stuff with you, right? A whole lot of different numbers. A whole lot of ways to understand the business. But at the end of the day, this is our business. Like it, don't like it, it doesn't change that that's what it is. Okay? So again, you got to sell out, now that you know, to accepting them. Accepting the numbers first starts where? With you. I'm going to accept them and personally abide by them, knowing that I can't cheat life and expect to win. Okay? These are the principles by which our business runs. We cannot cheat them and expect to get ahead. So once we accept them and decide that we're not going to cheat the numbers, now we can now we can put our influence towards other people to get them to do the same thing. Do you understand this? Okay? This is a very key concept of our business. You won't build what you don't believe in and model for other people. End of story. You have a question?
Yeah. Can you touch on one more thing?
Sure.
Versus, I need to know everything before I can start, or where do I start as I start?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So I know some people, they want to know everything. They wait all the way through 501 before they make a decision to go start it.
Sure. Yeah, so again, like, you are the leaders, right? Your job is to influence other people to follow this process. But if you don't understand the process and still follow it, will you get the results? Yes. Sure. You don't need to understand this. If you somehow blindly run the numbers without understanding it, it will work just as well for you as understanding it and running the numbers, right? So I didn't grow up in church, but I worked for a church, and there would always be these people. They would ask, like, the Bible says the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, right? And that's like a favorite scripture Christians use so that they think that God's going to send them a check in the mailbox, right? It's like the wealth of the wicked is coming, right? Okay, but then they would always ask, like, how is it there's some people, they don't even believe in God, and they're doing so much better than these people that really are great people and they believe? And the answer is, those people have blindly fulfilled laws of how the world works, and you love God, but you ain't following the rules of how He set this deal up, right? So you're getting the result you should be, and so are they. They don't even need to know that, right? It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible you got to believe in God to be able to see some of His good, right? If you don't believe in God, but you still see a sunset. Yes or yes, right? Okay. So people get all weirded out about that, but that's my metaphor for what you're trying to describe, right? You don't need to know what you're doing necessarily if you do what to do, right? So start fast and work and run numbers, and that's going to happen, and you can learn it by the way and say, aha. You ever had an aha moment? That's when you learn and connect the dot between something you know by doing and now why that thing is so. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So I hope that made sense to you all there. Okay. So I'm done. So we've got a little bit of time for questions probably until we hear that music thumping upstairs. Does anybody have questions when it comes to the numbers? Aristida has another one.
Well, if maybe someone wants to
Go ahead.
Okay. So the other thing that I see a lot is learn something in 501 and try to go back to my new recruit and brain dump what I've just learned
Yes.
here.
Yeah. Analysis paralysis is what you create. Does your new guy need to understand all this?
No.
What does he need to do? Come to the meetings and set appointments. That's what he needs to do. And he will blindly be fulfilling this. And when he asks you why, now you know why. Do you understand that? Why do I need to come to that meeting? Well, thanks for asking. Let me explain to you why that is. We have a 1-to-1 ratio. You want to make a bunch of sales, right, Leonard? Because you want to be able to make money. Okay? Well, if you don't have people coming, we just know that's not going to happen. So if you're not coming, it's going to be really hard to get people coming, right? You'd agree with that? Okay, perfect. So that's why you need to be here. Well, I don't have any people yet. Well, Leonard, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, my man? Right? Okay, so I know that you don't got no people, but you ain't ever going to have no people if you don't start doing what you want them to do first. Because even if you got them, you're going to lead them down the wrong path. Right? So now you got a reason to explain to them. Okay? Any other questions on the numbers? I made you mush tonight, right?
The 1-to-1 ratio, is that like per week, per meeting?
Yeah, on average per meeting.
Per meeting.
Yep. So if you got 20 people coming to meetings, on average, you should be making about 20 sales a month.
If you're talking about numbers, yourself, go district each month yourself, 3 by 3.
Okay. Is that a question? I'm not sure.
The question is, where do you stand on that? Would it help certain people?
Well, I mean, that's the only way. I mean, the numbers got to start from somewhere, right? So the more you put in, think about it like this, okay? If you want to have 100 grandkids, but you have one child,
Good luck.
Good luck.
Not gonna happen.
I'm not sure that's physically possible. If you want to have 100 grandkids and you have 10 kids, that's still a lot of kids per child, but it's far more feasible than doing it off one. If if you're the Duggars, you have 25 kids or whatever, you got a real shot at it. Right? You understand? This is real. You got a real shot. Okay. So what is the purpose of what I'm saying here? Okay. Well, if you want to have 1,000 people, 2,000, 3,000 people, and you're getting recruited on your team through other people, you got to put some people in for them to have people who have people, right? You understand that? Yeah. That ain't going to happen off of one guy, most likely, or one girl. So that's what he's talking about. If you want to catalyze this, go put a bunch in over and over and over yourself. So you have a bigger front line and you have more opportunity for people to be building underneath you, right? Okay? So, what other questions we got here?
Have you ever heard the term reverting to the mean? I think it's reverting to the mean. It's kind of what you're talking about. The bigger the numbers come, they always end up at the mean.
They end up at the average.
Yeah,
it's called. I call that the law of large numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. The bigger amount of sample you sample, the more accurate the numbers are that we deal with.
All right.
Patricia.
So I know you got the 8531 for that's with KTs. What do you have as far as or other numbers for just recruiting?
For straight recruiting appointments? Yeah. There are, but what do you notice about what Art said? You should be recruiting your clients. Art Williams did not design this business for you to run around and maul people, bump into them. Oh, you have a nice shopping cart there. Hey, you look pretty sharp. Okay, that's not how Art Williams designed this business. Art Williams designed this business as a business of best friends going to best friends. Right? Do you understand? Best friends going to best friends. If you ever get a chance to watch Art Williams talk about the things that blew his butt out of the water, he said if you got three who got three 9 times, that's 59,000 people. You got 3, never got another one, you got those 3, and you did that 9 times, you'd have 59,000 people. So everybody knows 3, but most of us are very bad at getting to them. And we're bad at getting to them because we got to the 1 in a bizarre fashion to begin with, versus recruiting your best friend because this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Right? Okay? You understand? Good. Other questions? Going once. Going twice. All right, well, I'm going to force you all to sit here and stare at me then until that music comes out. So, but no, in all seriousness, if you don't have your convention registrations, you should get them done, right? Get them done tonight. Register. If you got people here in other classes that don't have their convention registrations done, get them done, right? If they don't have Super Saturday tickets done, get them done. Because you sure as heck ain't going to duplicate that if you're not done there. All right?
What's the number for every person you get to the convention that you get?
Oh, that's a good number.
10,000 a year.
10,000 a year?
Yes, it's $5,000, so that's a good number. So, and I didn't put this in here. But the company looks at revenue coming from that, and the company's numbers, the best estimate the company has is for every person that you get on your team to the convention, that's worth about $5,000 a year in overrides. Okay, $5,000 of income to you that came from that person. Now again, this is a law of large numbers. If you take 2 people, you might get more than that, you might get less than that, because that's not a very large sample size. But that's better than no people. If you take no people, how much money will you make from the effect of the convention off of your people? 0. Okay, so this is going to be more than 0. Okay, but they look at guys like me and they say, all right, you got 1,000 people, you're going to get $5,000 a person. That's a lot of money. That's $5 million. That's a lot of money, right? Okay, so they know that they can figure out there's this many people to the convention, there's this much money going out to the field. That's how they figure out that number. So what a travesty if you're not working hard to get a ton of people there. All right, y'all, I hope this was helpful. We'll talk to you soon.